Hello everyone. Today we will talk about the most legendary derby, a true rivalry that is more than 100 years old. Of course, we are talking about the Superclásico, Boca Juniors versus River Plate. So let's dive into the history of this great rivalry. Let's go. River Plate and Boca Juniors share common roots. Both clubs were founded in the same district of Buenos Aires, La Boca. River is slightly older. It was founded on May 25, 1901 as a result of the merger of two teams. Boca was founded 4 years later on April 3, 1905. At the origins of Boca Juniors stood a group of 5 Italian immigrants who at the beginning of the 20th century were arriving in Argentina in large numbers. La Boca was especially favored by immigrants from Genoa. That is where the club's nickname comes from, the Genoese. During Spanish rule, this area contained barracks where enslaved black people lived, and it was also the location of the first port of Buenos Aires. One of the main features of the district, the colorful houses, appeared because of poverty. Italian immigrants did not have enough paint to paint their homes in a single color. According to legend, during one of the carnivals in La Boca, River fans managed to steal a large red silk ribbon, which was later cut into pieces and attached to shirts. That is how the famous stripe on the playing kit appeared, La Banda, as River Plate are also called. Boca's colors were originally pink, which were later replaced by black and white stripes. One day, according to legend, Boca were scheduled to play a team with the same colors. It was then decided to come up with a new color combination. The club's founders decided to use the colors of the flag of the country, whose ship would be the first to cross the port of La Boca. That ship turned out to be from Sweden, and that is how Boca became blue and gold. The clubs first clashed in 1908. That match ended with a 2-1 victory for Boca. The first official match is dated 1913, and on that occasion, River Plate won. Both teams shared the La Boca district until 1923. As a result of a specially organized match, the loser was determined. It was River, and they were destined to leave the district. Already in 1925, River Plate found a new home in the Núñez district, where 13 years later the Monumental Stadium was built, a huge sports complex, where the Argentina national team still plays today. Boca fans like to call River supporters gallinas, meaning chickens. The reason is that in the 1966 Copa Libertadores final, River Plate were leading 2-0 against Peñarol but lost 2-4. Someone among the Uruguayan fans, in order to insult their opponents, released a chicken onto the pitch. In response, River fans call their sworn enemies Los Chanchitos, or little pigs, and sometimes even manure collectors, referring to the fact that their home district La Boca has remained underdeveloped and is known for its specific smell. There have been nearly 100 heated matches between Boca and River, but we will focus on a few of the most iconic ones. Perhaps the most tragic match took place on April 23, 1968. In a crush at the Monumental Stadium at Gate 12, 71 people died and 150 were injured. It was the greatest tragedy in the history of Argentine football. According to one version, the disaster occurred after Boca fans threw burning River banners from the upper tiers, causing panic and a stampede. According to another version, it happened after River supporters broke into the Boca section, triggering violent clashes. Guillermo Kent, former president of River, claimed that police began pushing Boca fans after they started urinating on them. After 3 years of a government investigation, it was decided that no one was guilty of what happened, and exits in the stands were marked with letters instead of numbers, in order to erase the memory of Gate 12. A landmark derby in the history of both Boca and Argentine football as a whole took place on April 10, 1981. The great Diego Armando Maradona made his Superclásico debut. Despite starting his senior career at Argentinos Juniors, Maradona had been a Boca fan since childhood and dreamed of playing for them against River. Even in his youth, River Plate agents tried to sign Diego, but he was firmly against it. In that match, Boca won and Maradona scored the winning goal. In 1986, the so-called Orange Ball match took place. River arrived at La Bombonera with peace of mind, because regardless of the result, they were already champions. The visitors had the audacity to celebrate this even before kickoff, and the entire pitch was covered with white confetti. For that reason, it was decided to play with an orange ball, because a regular ball simply could not be seen. Another match that influenced the history of this great derby took place in 2015. It was the second leg of the Copa Libertadores round of 16. When the teams were returning from the locker rooms for the second half, Boca fans broke into the retractable tunnel leading to the pitch, made a hole in it, and sprayed tear gas at River players. The match was never resumed. Boca were disqualified, and River went on to win the tournament for the first time since 1996. It was after this game that a new law came into force, banning fans from attending away matches. Supporters could only attend home games to prevent outbreaks of violence in the stands. In 2018, the teams were set to face each other in the Copa Libertadores final for the first time in history. The final consisted of 2 matches for the last time, before the format was changed to a single final. At that moment, the law banning away fans was opposed by the then president of Argentina, Mauricio Macri. This was important to him, as Macri was a former president of Boca Juniors, who led the club from 1996 to 2008, one of the most successful periods in the club's history. He tried to persuade the interior minister to support him, but was refused. This turned into a nationwide debate. Argentina was preparing to host the G20 summit, the country was experiencing a severe economic crisis, and amid many problems, the president was worried about the match between Boca and River. Journalists fueled the story, and tensions before the game kept rising. The first match at La Bombonera ended in a 2-2 draw. When Boca traveled to the second leg, their team bus was attacked with bottles and stones by River fans. Police began dispersing the crowd with tear gas. The gas entered the bus through shattered windows, and Boca players felt like participants in a war zone. While the bus was trying to reach the stadium, people in River's white and red shirts robbed cars parked nearby. Boca players were furious. Captain Pablo Perez and defender Gonzalo Lamardo suffered eye injuries from glass fragments. The players were taken to hospital and returned wearing protective eye patches. The match was postponed several times and eventually moved to Madrid. This had never happened before in the history of the Superclásico. River won in extra time and lifted their 5th Copa Libertadores title, closing in on Boca, who have 6. Each club has its own legends, and Boca and River are no exception. Diego Maradona was always loyal to Boca Juniors, even though he played for the club for only 3 years, 1 before his move to Barcelona and 1 at the end of his career. Maradona played the final match of his career against River Plate on October 25, 1997. Boca won that match 2-1. Carlos Tevez began his career at Boca, returned to the club, and finished his career there, just like Maradona. One of the brightest moments in Superclásico history is linked to him. In 2004, Tevez scored against River at the Monumental, then removed his shirt and imitated a chicken dance, a reference to the rival's nickname. He was sent off, as the referee believed this behavior could provoke mass unrest. River also has its own legends. Angel Labruna is one of the greatest scorers in the history of Argentine football and one of the best players in South American history. Labruna left a significant mark on the Superclásico. He is River's greatest legend and the all-time top scorer in the derby with 16 goals. In total, Labruna devoted 20 years to his club. Another River legend is Marcelo Gallardo, famous both as a player and as a coach. He took charge of River in 2014 when the team was in crisis. Almost all key players had left. Almost immediately, he won the Copa Sudamericana, ending a 17-year drought without international trophies. In the Copa Libertadores semifinals, River defeated Boca. Later came 2 Copa Libertadores titles, in 2015 and 2018, both achieved against their main rival. 10 trophies in 6 years, and for Gallardo, this was only the beginning. Fans of both teams enjoy trading insults. In 2012, River supporters launched a huge inflatable pig over the stadium, dressed in Boca colors, to once again mock their sworn enemy. Boca fans in the upper stands tried to reach it and almost caused another crush. Remembering the tragic past, they stopped and swallowed the joke. 3 years later, they got their revenge. During a Superclásico at La Bombonera, a drone flew over the stadium, carrying an image of a ghost in River's colors, with the letter B, a reference to River's relegation to the second division in 2011, while Boca have never been relegated. And that's all. Write in the comments what you would like to learn about in future episodes. Like the video and hit the bell. There will be many more interesting football stories here.